My name is Martin, and today I'm from the Software Reliability Group at Imperial College London as well. It's a pleasure to give a talk here, and today's topic will be about fine-grained memory object representation and symbolic execution. This talk is based on publication AAC 2019. So if you're interested in more details, please, go there or ask me questions. Good. Let's start. So today I'm going to talk about, well, when you develop new programs, you want to test them how they're represented in memory and how this memory representation should be kind of optimized in the context of symbolic execution. So let's start with me writing a simple program, and then I will compile it and execute it. And typically, if you see the program on the right side, what will happen is that after your compilation, you will start it and execute it so it gets loaded into memory, and typically you will allocate some memory like with the malloc tier allocation or the stack-based allocation. And in both cases, you will either, for example, write to that memory location or read from it. In case of dynamic symbolic execution, what you want to do is we want to test kind of all the different inputs that are possible. So you're going to replace one of those input variables and make them symbolic and let the execution continue. And as soon as you reach a conditional branch instruction, which depends on this input variable, you have to separately check all the different flows. So in that case, we will branch the execution and execute from there. So the question is now, how do you still kind of map the actual program application, the application you're going to test? And this is to be into a symbolic execution engine. And this typically happens in the so-called application state or symbolic execution execution state in KLEE specific terms. And I love to have a view of this one as a small model. And this model kind of contains your specific application at a certain state of its execution. And this is typically containing path constraints, which resemble all the different decisions that have been made to exactly reach this point, according to the symbolic inputs. And it's also different programs counts with like registers, which are part of your application, and also the allocated memory like stack and heap. But let's be assured if you have a kind of a memory usage look at your application state, then it typically looks like this. So most of the space is actually occupied by the resemblance of the memory of the application you test there. So, and of course, everybody who says about execution typically thinks, well, in that case, you have to analyze, or it will automatically analyze different paths. So for each of those paths, you need to kind of resample those ones in execution states. So we also have appropriate models for each of the execution state. But then the typical problem, the state space explosion problem will happen. So eventually you will end up more with a view like this. And if you think about this, so you have many more states which you have to handle simultaneously. And if you just need to keep in mind that those states are kind of still should be handled as part of the actual KLEE execution process or a symbolic execution process. So what happens if our memory gets too full and we have too many states to handle? Well, in general, if with higher memory pressure, you have typically end up with slow execution time or lower throughput. But you also have to, typically, if you end up with having too many states, you have to terminate states prematurely or suspend states, for example, like proposed in the Moakley paper in a later presentation. So my goal with this specific work was to scale symbolic execution like we all want to do, and especially avoid premature termination of states, and also give another opportunity to sort and reason about states. So how does the current state of the art look like? Well, typically, if a state allocates a specific memory location, the moment we need to fork that state or make a copy of that state, then the other state will also reference the same memory allocation. This is quite nice and it's quite efficient on the one side, but typically if you have a very large allocation, then in that case, what will happen is even if you just have a small tiny minor modification, for example, we just want to store a 7 at index 2, then this will be not efficient enough. So in that case, we have to make a full copy of the object representation, and this can be quite costly. Moreover, in the context of symbolic execution, you also have to think about how do you handle symbolic indices, and this becomes more complicated. Just as a reminder for some of you who might be not that familiar with the internals, in case of a symbolic index, so you don't know which actual address you want to access, and in this case, write to 7 to. So it might be an arbitrary number of indices happening, and then subsequent accesses to this object, for example, a load from index 5, you might not be able to explicitly. You might not be able, or you have to take this symbolic stores into account. So what I proposed in that paper was to have a more fine-grained memory object representation, and that was kind of based on two main insights. So typically, the first insight is that typically changes you have between quite closely related states, or if you look at two closely related states and you view their memory object and how it was manipulated, then you will see that typically small parts are different, but they have a common large part. And insight number 2 was that changes which are made to the memory object are typically happening quite locally and are of similar type. What do I mean with similar type? Is that in case of when you have, for example, it can be either a concrete address index, or it could be, for example, a symbolic address index. It could be also a concrete value, or it could be a symbolic value, which you want to read or write to. And the combination of those ones should be kept in mind. For the term local, I mean 2 aspects. And 2 aspects is I want to have kind of a space-efficient local access pattern. So typically, similar to the cache patterns, you have accesses which are quite close to each other, or in certain patterns. And also you have a time-based relation between those changes. So what I proposed was a layered approach, and the idea is kind of everything is a layer. So I will just give you a small example what the general abstract idea behind that is, or kind of a further development of the copy and write technique. And the actual implementation is a bit might look a bit different. So let's see. Let's start with this simple example scenario. So we have state 1, which has an allocation, which looks like this. In that case, the implementation will create a new layer which should represent exactly the allocation. We don't know anything about this layer. Nothing is initialized except the size and maybe the memory address. In case now we get a second state which should share the same memory allocation, then it will reference it as well. But as soon as 2 states are referencing the same memory object, we'll protect it from being changed further on. So this is to keep both views for every state which kind of reference this view, to keep it consistent. Now, if you want to have subsequent changes of this memory object, then we just add new layers. So for example, in that case, we just initialize the whole memory object with zeros. And in that, so we have S1 adding a new layer to this memory object, which references previous layers and can continue on its own. So this is it's the object's own layer, which it can private layer, which it can manipulate. And again, if we need to fork or make copies of states, then we also the layer will be locked. But for further execution, if you just have simple accesses or simple modifications, you want to write, for example, a symbolic value at the concrete index 2 in this case, then we just add a new layer and which contains only this modification. All the layers under for the object or under this specific layer will be the same. And the same thing for layer S3. This seems to be quite trivial, but it allows a couple of nice optimizations. So, which are, for example, an index-based access. So this was kind of the goal, because typically, if you want to have the space local optimizations, or if you have, as you typically have space local accesses, then it's best to have an index-based access because it's typically more performant. So what we can do here in our case is that with every index, we can directly access each and every field, and it goes from the most recent layer to the oldest layer. So in case, for example, we want to load from index 2, then you can just check the most recent layer, we get the value back. For load, for example, from index 1, we won't find anything in the most recent layer, so we have to go to one layer to an earlier layer, and in that case, we would be successful. Other optimization or next optimization is in place update, which allows you, for example, to have write optimizations and also direct in place updates. Similar for conditional updates. If you see changes there, if you see that the old value is, or the new value will be still the old value, so don't need to update anything, so you just keep the old layer, which is fine. And of course, the moment you just finish or make a, or like with Bingo, you just fulfill or make the layer completely full, then you can remove the dependency to the other layers, which also leads then to better optimizations. For symbolic indices, just a side remark, they will be handled as a symbolic index layer. Okay, for the implementation, I will just skip this one. I will be available later on in the chat or also on Discord channel and or for questions. So evaluation, what we did is we let run KLEE versus KLEE memory implementation on GNU Core Utils for 30 minutes, all the applications and with different search strategies. And the outcome is that, or the point is that depth first, for example, typically has very little number of states, while breadth first search typically has a lot of states, which we need to handle at the same time. So how does it change the execution time of the application? And in depth first search, what you can see is that typically, well, and either KLEE is the original KLEE implementation is a bit slower, but also the memory-based implementation is a bit slower. There are a couple of optimizations which I can, which have some additional throughput improvements, for example, for caching lookups. Similar behavior in Walltime is also for the breadth first search. Behavior is quite the same. The question now is, of course, main question: does it change memory consumption? How does it look like? And in our case, is for example for DFS or depth first search again, you see. They have quite similar behavior in their memory usage in general, but keep in mind we have just a couple of states. So it sometimes uses a bit more memory, and sometimes also the memory-based implementation uses a bit more memory. But keep in mind we just have a maximum of 300 megabytes allocated because we have just a couple of states here laying around and need to handle. For the breadth first search, the pictures quite different because we have many more states which have kind of copies from, or which share different substates with each other, and then you see the saving is much more. And please keep in mind that now we have a completely different scale, so we have at the 4 gigabyte level here in our case, so it's kind of a 10x improvement. What did I show you today? Well, we have to handle a lot of states simultaneously in memory to be efficient. I proposed a layer-based approach to make that faster, and you see some nice memory optimization. So thank you very much for your attention, and yeah, when there are questions, let me answer them.